Hey everybody, welcome to the Weight Loss by Pete daily vlog and the Weight Loss by Pete podcast, depending on how you're ingesting this. This is Pete Weintraub, permanent weight loss specialist, and today we're going to talk about how to use failure to succeed. Sounds very counterintuitive, but I'll get to that in just a second. So today's message is a little somber for me. So Monday through Friday, I had this whole routine that I do to deliver content to you guys. You know, I post here on YouTube or on Stitcher, SoundCloud, and iTunes from a podcast a few times a week. I write 5 days a week. I send an email to my email list. I post on Medium, Huffington Post, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I'm all over the place. You know, it takes an hour to 2 hours in my day, but it's great during the work week because I get to share these lessons that I learned on my personal weight loss journey and things that have come up through my experiences coaching others to lose weight for good. And today I came across kind of a somber note. So I was writing my email, and the email was about perfectionism and how perfectionists, when they're on their weight loss journeys, they tend to be very, very on point very early on. But the second that they fall off track, whether they drink too much alcohol of a bad variety, or they have a piece of cake at a party, whatever the case may be, they'll let one little slip up instead of just shaking it off, getting back on the horse. And obviously, one night of one extra drink or one night of a piece of cake or slice of pizza or whatever it is, that's not going to do very much damage to you. But a lot of those people who are perfectionists will let that compound, and one meal, one bad drink will turn into a day, then a week, then a month. Before you know it, they're entirely off the horse. I've seen this happen many times in the 10 years I've been coaching people. And as a perfectionist himself, I can tell you that this has happened to me my fair share throughout my life. So I was writing about this, and I decided let's give a different type of personal example. I'm always giving examples of my weight loss journey. And yeah, it's important. Obviously, it's relatable to you guys to hear my personal struggles, but I decided to go way back. And when I was a kid, I've alluded to you guys, I was an overweight kid. I was made fun of a lot in school. And instead of playing sports as an extracurricular activity outside of eating sweets and playing video games and watching television and surfing the interwebs on a dial-up modem, my hobby was music. And I'm actually quite musically talented. I can kind of play things by ear. I can learn things by ear. And I liked Sherlock Holmes at the time. One of the other things I liked to do as a hobby was to read. And Sherlock Holmes was one of my favorite things to read, even though I was 8 and I didn't understand half the crap I was reading. I liked that, you know, he smoked a pipe and he, you know, played a violin. So I wanted to play the violin. So in school, when that was made available to us in about 3rd grade, so I was about 8 years old at the time, I started playing the violin. And when there was some semblance that I actually had some talent, my parents got me a private teacher. And over the first couple of years that I worked with her in conjunction with, you know, learning at school, playing in school, I became all county here in Nassau County on Long Island. And that just means I was one of the best violinists in the county. At my peak, if you want to call it that, I was ranked 4th in the county. That same year, there was an all-district concert, which they did with all the 5th graders, all the 10, 11-year-olds, and I was the concert master. Basically, if you're not familiar with orchestras, what that means is that you're the first chair of the violin section, and you walk up before the performance, and you just play your A string, and everyone else plays their A string, and, you know, it's just a tradition that a lot of orchestras do. It just kind of shows, hey, I'm the leader of the orchestra type of deal. And I remember when I went into that, I was working on the piece to be in all district because I was already in the all district. They were just trying to figure out who the concert master was going to be. And there was this girl and there was this other person who were always up there, like the first 2 chairs. So I thought it was going to be one of them, but they had open tryouts for it. So I figured, what the hell, I'll go in there and I'll play. And I was very pleasantly surprised. I got a call from my private teacher that night saying that she spoke to the conductor and that I had actually won the competition. So that was cool. It was kind of like the pinnacle of my musical career, if you will. But shortly after that, when I entered middle school, I realized that even in the middle school, like the school pieces and music was always easy. Like it was always at a lower level because most kids didn't take it seriously. It was just one of their arts requirements. And so they decided to do that over painting or, you know, whatever the hell else you did. from an art perspective. And I always found it easy, but I found in middle school it started to get challenging because they had a couple of different orchestras in middle school. They had like the regular orchestra, and they had like an advanced orchestra. And in sixth grade, I was in the advanced orchestra, which was usually for mostly eighth graders and a couple of seventh graders. So me and a few others of the sixth graders were in this advanced orchestra, and you actually had to practice, or you couldn't just get by on talent alone, which is something I learned then. Also, they had individual competitions. They call it NISMA here in New York State. Basically, you're given a piece at a certain level, and then some type of music educator critiques you. They don't really know you. They listen to it, and they grade you on a few different areas, and then you get a score. And I also did that as well from a competition perspective. And that was how you were kind of put into this all-county level. But anyway, I discovered at around that time when I entered middle school that talent alone wasn't going to get me there. And prior to that point, I didn't really have to practice. I listened to something and how it sounded and how it was played. And then once I was shown how to do it, it was very easy. I just picked up on it and I did it. But at that point, there were more advanced methods to making it sound the right way. And I started to struggle. I started realizing I had to practice harder. And because I had a perfectionist identity, because for a few years, I didn't really have to try. It was just, okay, I'm going to take 30 minutes the night before I have to perform this for my private teacher or for the orchestra, and I'll get it. And that's it. It'll take me 20, 30 minutes. I'll go through the whole thing. I'll make it sound good, and then I'm good. But that's not how it was. I actually had to practice. I actually had to try. And when I realized that, and when I saw that people that I had surpassed just on talent alone were surpassing me because they were equally as talented or maybe slightly less talented, but they were willing to put in the hours of work that I wasn't, they surpassed me. That discouraged me. And as a result, I stopped caring. And this obviously wasted a few years of both my parents' money and my private teacher's time, because she tried really hard to keep me engaged, because I did have a lot of talent. And I'm sure if I picked it up and I started playing again, and maybe I got lessons again, maybe I still would be pretty good. I mean, I'm probably never going to play in a philharmonic or anything like that. Not that I want to anymore. It's not really in my interests, but it was kind of like a waste of talent. And I felt really guilty because she kept coming. She would, she'd ask me, what kind of music do you like? She'd sometimes even personally put together a violin bit on a song that I liked. Even like at the time, I liked grunge. I remember in my mid-teens towards the end of our time together, and it was like a Nirvana piece or something like that. And it was funny hearing it on a violin, but she was trying and I didn't give a shit. So I was just like, nope, I'm done. My talent's not going to get me very far. And, after a while, she just kind of gave the ultimatum, well, if you're not going to try, I don't want to take your parents' money anymore. It's not right. So we decided to part ways. She also worked with my brothers, but my brothers weren't nearly as into it as I ever was. They weren't as talented in that regard as I was. They have their own talents in other areas. So that was that. And in that situation, and like I've done in other areas and situations in my life where I definitely didn't do the best thing, I didn't handle it the best way. And a lot of people chalk it up to teenage apathy and not really knowing any better at the age. And maybe to a degree that's true. But at the end of the day, I felt badly about it. And, once or twice at, different performances, I still played violin throughout high school. I stopped right after high school ended. She would still privately teach some of the more advanced kids, and I'd see her there in the school. And I felt bad. Like, she'd say hi and she was cordial, but I could tell, she felt kind of down that I didn't continue to try and put in the effort, because if I did, I probably could have stayed at that level and maybe continued to stay past some of the people who had passed me. But I decided not to. I was lazy, I was apathetic, and unfortunately, like in some other areas of my life, talent, genetics, whatever you want to call it, got me so far. And once I got to this level, and you're going to find this in any situation in your life, right? You're going to get to a high level of something just based on your talent alone. Like you're just innately good at something, and you're going to realize, shit, I'm not the only person here. In fact, there's hundreds, if not thousands of people who are just as good as I am from a talent perspective. But what's going to differentiate me from them, or vice versa, is, am I willing to outwork them? I mean, am I willing to put in the work to get better? Because that's the only way I'm going to get to this high level. So I initially coined the message to talk about my perfectionism and how that didn't do me any good when I kind of established with my young self that I'm talented. I don't really need to work that hard, in a comparison to these other people who are probably practicing hours a day. And when it got to the point where, yeah, I probably would have had to practice hours a day to stay on that level, I wasn't willing to do it. They still were, and thus they overtook me, and I lost my motivation, and that was that. So that was something, like I said, that I always felt really, really guilty about. So I decided to, write what I wrote earlier today, at least the first draft of it. I changed it since, because I was going to send it to her in like an email. I was going to look her up, try and see if she was on a website or something, find her email or her phone number, reconnect and just say, hey, I really appreciate everything you did. I'm really sorry that I wasted your time and that I didn't put in the effort. And, obviously I'm not going to get to a high level now playing the violin or anything like that, but I can use the hard work and determination that you were trying to instill in me then towards what I'm doing now, which is to serve you and my clients and my group members and help you lose weight for good. And unfortunately, when I Google searched her, I found out that she had passed over the summer. And usually death doesn't really hit me that hard, at least not death with people. Not to sound fucked up, but the most devastation or sadness that I felt from a death has been from some pets that I've lost over the years. And that's not to say that the people I've lost, whether family or friends over the years, weren't sad and didn't upset me, but whenever it's a person, usually even if you're close to them, like I lost a cousin, I've told you guys a few times, he died suddenly in his mid-30s, was just starting to get his life together. He suffered a heart attack, and medics, and he was on the phone with his sister, my other cousin, and they weren't able to get there in time. I had a friend in college who committed suicide. At least for me, it was, and a lot of our friends, it was unexpected. And yeah, I felt sad, sure. And, but I don't usually shed tears. And, usually within a day or so, it's just like, that's life. Again, not to sound fucked up, but when I saw that somebody who had mentored me and had faith in me and my abilities and really taken the time to try and continue to push me forward and keep me at this high level. And I kind of, just pushed her away, just out of apathy, because I had a realization that, shit, I need to put in effort or I'm not going to stay at this high level. And once I saw people surpassing me, because I'm like, yeah, my talent will get me by, and my talent didn't get me by. I just kind of said, fuck it. I felt terrible because I wanted to make amends. And that's something that I've tried to do in the last, 2 to 3 years as I've, I guess, matured or grown up, whatever it is. I'm still young. I'm not even 30 yet. I'm 29 years old as of the recording of this. But when I feel that I've wronged someone or I didn't give my all, or, I kind of mucked up a situation, I try to make amends with the person. And even if there's no going back, and obviously in that case there was no going back, I was hoping that maybe that could at least bring some resolve. Or I mean, I don't know how much or how little this affected her. I know she had many more private clients, and she worked with many more kids before, during, and after my time with her. So maybe this was just a blip. Maybe that she encountered this regularly, I don't know. But I felt a really big sense of guilt, and not just towards her, but towards myself. And I felt that reaching out to her would have been a cathartic means of just, owning up to a mistake and apathy and, laziness that I had in my youth that I am now trying to turn around in adulthood. And it hit me because I hadn't lost someone who had coached or mentored me to this point. Someone who believed in me and took the time to to help me progress and to help me stay at a high level. And even when I was, down on myself, like I said, when I saw people surpassing me, I just kind of clammed up, like, that's it. I'm not trying anymore. Which is, at this point, I think it's disgusting that I did that, but excuse me. Hey, what can you do? But yeah, so I was hit pretty hard by it. I was down for a couple of hours, after I had written the initial message, and I decided to recraft it and to be completely transparent. And I took it off of the message being, and obviously this is how I framed the title of this message to you guys today. It was, instead of talking about perfectionism, I was talking about how to use failure to succeed. And the lesson that I took out of all of this was that, obviously I wasn't able to make amends like I wanted to. She passed a few months ago. I wish I had this idea a few months ago before she had passed, but I didn't. So there's nothing I can do now. I'm never going to get that chance. What I can do is in her honor, and kind of as a means of redemption or making amends, whatever you want to call it, I want to use the hard work and dedication that I have now that I didn't have then to continue to better serve you, to serve my clients, to serve my group members. And that's even more motivation for me until the day that I die, because, I really feel that I let her down and I let myself down. And, just when I think, maybe you can remedy the situation a little bit, didn't work out. So it was an eye-opening lesson for me. And the same thing happens for you on your weight loss journey. I mean, look, 1 in 2 Americans suffers from a chronic condition. It can be a gateway condition like obesity or type 2 diabetes, or it can be a more serious life-threatening condition like heart disease, various forms of cancer, and neurological conditions like Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. It could be any of those things. And if you're overweight, in addition to all that, there's a very good chance that you're being overweight and your unhealthy lifestyle habits contributed to your acquisition of that chronic condition. And there was at least some negligence on your part. But one thing that I also learned in reflection after I had discovered that this mentor of mine had passed was that, it takes, especially when you want to get to the highest level, and in this case, improving your health to the highest level, permanent weight loss is improving your health to the highest level, because not only do you have that short-term weight loss goal, but you want to stay there and you want to continue to maintain your health for the rest of your days. You want to live a long, healthy, happy life. And if your life isn't healthy right now, you at least want to make it long and happy, and you want to improve your health, so that can also be part of the equation in the not too distant future. And in most cases, you can. If it is a more life-threatening condition, at the very least, you can hold it off for a longer period of time and maybe even reduce the symptoms of that condition by improving your lifestyle habits and by losing the weight and keeping it off. But it takes 2 things. It takes a combination of practice and talent. So to break that down, practice, again, it takes about 60 days. I believe the exact number is 56 days, according to scientific studies, to form a habit. So 56 days of consistent discipline and action. And in the 3 physical areas for health and permanent weight loss, you're going to want to exercise regularly. You want to eat well regularly. And you want to have a good, positive growth mindset. So those are 3 important characteristics that you need to uphold consistently in order to see the best results. Excuse me, I have like a frog in my throat today. And the other thing is talent. And what do I mean by talent? What does talent have to do with losing weight? Maybe that's not the best idea. I think maybe that wording was used because I was discussing my musical talents and giving my personal story today. But talent in the form of genetics. We hear genetics all the time. My family's genetically predisposed to diabetes or obesity. My family's genetically predisposed to this and that, both in a positive and in a negative sense. So genetically, I'm sorry, the spotlight's on me more so than usual today. Usually it's more of a transparent message, and maybe I'll give a personal example, whether it's from me or from a client. But today, I guess maybe it'll be a little more focused on me, but whatever. Genetically speaking, when I eat well, when I exercise regularly, and when I get good quality sleep, my results are ridiculous. Like, I can look like shit. I remember this summer, for example, I'll be transparent with you guys. I had a shitty week nutritionally. We ordered out pizza 3 or 4 days out of the 7. Uh, Drank a lot of booze, ate a lot of sugar. I gained close to 10 pounds in 1 week over the summer. By the next week, I lost most of the weight. I think 7 of the 10 pounds I lost. But the following week, I lost it all, and it looked like nothing ever happened. Just because when I got back, that was it. I righted the ship. No more eating garbage. No more drinking. No more sugar. Got back on the horse, and I lost it all. So when I'm on point, I see results. I really, really do. It's the same with anything. When I picked up guitar after the violin escapades, and I taught myself how to play the guitar. I had a couple of lessons, but nothing serious. And I taught myself. Just by going online and learning how to play different songs, and that's kind of where I'm at. But when I practiced a lot, I got much better very quickly. I pick up on certain things quickly. Other things like athletics and things that involve fine motor skills like throwing, catching, running, and doing certain calisthenics. It takes me a lot of practice before I can get competent and then eventually good. But yeah, genetics. So you may not be as genetically well off in terms of, you make the changes and you're just immediately going to see great results. It may not happen, but if you do it long enough, it will. Genetics and talent doesn't have as much to do with losing weight and getting healthy as practice does. Regular practice of, again, healthy eating, regular exercise, and a positive growth mindset, that's the key to staying on point for the rest of your days. And just 2 months of consistent action, and you're going to be so much better off. So in order to use failure to succeed, like I said, the main crux of this, I'm sorry if this is a little more long-winded than podcasts in recent weeks, but to use failure to succeed, I was just using this musical example. And again, I'm not going to be a professional musician. It's just not going to happen. But that being said, I was thinking about it, and then I was thinking about my private teacher who, again, believed so much in me and tried her hardest to keep me on track when I got down on myself, when I realized that talent alone was not going to keep me at this high level. And I wanted to, reconnect, and I couldn't. So obviously I failed to own up to my issues, until obviously it was too late. She's gone. There's nothing I can do about it. And obviously there's nothing I can do to, I guess there technically is. There's something I can do to regain my form. Not to say that I'm interested in the violin anymore. Maybe I'll pick up the guitar again or something. I have one in the closet back there or something like that. But long story short, my failure to continue on a difficult road with music, and my failure to own up to my apathy and my mistakes as a teenager, to the point that it's too late now. I can never apologize to this woman and own up to it. And again, maybe it didn't really affect her all that much. I don't know, but I felt that it did when she was there, because she genuinely cared. Well, at least she came off that way. I'm sure she did. I'm sure it's just not me making it up. I felt that I let her down, and I couldn't even bring closure to the situation. And, I guess what I got to do now is just in honor of her memory, and, for myself too, the shame and the guilt that I feel still to this day, even though, again, like I said, I don't have that interest anymore. It's going to drive me to succeed. And, there are going to be bleak days, there are going to be dark days, or days are going to wake up and you're going to be like, fuck this. I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like eating right. I don't feel like exercising. Something bad's going on in my life. I feel down. I feel depressed. I don't want to do this anymore. That's going to happen. It happens to me every day. Not every day. It happens to me maybe once a week. I'm sure it happens to you once a week, if not more frequently. And it's just something that you got to work through. And just think about something like that. So I gave you a very explicit personal story of something that I learned today. I was thinking about a past failure, that it was a failure. I gave up. on my ambitions to be a high-level violinist. I just gave up on it when the going got tough, and I actually had to put an effort in conjunction with my talent. And like I said, it's something that I regret to this day. And I'm not going to let that happen again. I know I have a talent for this, serving people, helping people lose weight for good, helping people to improve their health. I'm not going to let it go to waste. I'm really not. And obviously there are going to be times where it's a struggle, whether I have personal things going on, what have you. But you know what? You just got to keep going. So think about a situation where maybe you failed in the past. It can be something similar. It could be if you gave up a sport that you had talent for. It could be if you gave up on a relationship, whether it's a family, friend, or romantic relationship, because you weren't willing to change. You weren't willing to work harder at it, and use that as motivation next time you're in a position, especially for your health. Your health is your biggest asset. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how happy you seemingly are. I can guarantee you would be happier. If you're overweight and you're struggling with a chronic condition like the ones I mentioned earlier, you're going to be happier if you're healthier, if you're more functional, if you don't have all the joint pain and inflammation that you currently have because of unhealthy lifestyle habits. Trust me, your quality of life and your livelihood, your well-being, your personality, your moods, everything is going to go up exponentially if you just take care of your health. So please, I hope you heard this message and I hope you apply it to yourself. Again, this is Pete Weintraub. I'm a permanent weight loss specialist. You're watching my daily vlog on YouTube and you're listening to my podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. In the description below, I'm inviting you to join the permanent weight loss community on Facebook. Long story short, it's a community of folks who are like-minded, who have 50 more pounds to lose. You're looking to either avoid, prevent, or reverse a debilitating condition. Like the ones I mentioned earlier, the chronic conditions I mentioned earlier. Again, 1 in 2 Americans suffers from at least one, and then 1 in 4 suffers from 2 or more. Obviously, it's a very common and increasingly common occurrence in our society that we need to get a hold of. And maybe you want to avoid weight loss surgery. If that's the case, I know weight loss surgery, at least here in the States, is covered under health insurance. It's relatively inexpensive, but many of my best clients had weight loss surgery before they came to me. And unfortunately, after the grueling recovery process, they gained all the weight back anyway. So you got a smaller stapled stomach and whatever the hell else you had done, and it didn't work long term because it's attacking the wrong aspect of the problem. The problem isn't how much you're eating per se, it's what you're eating. If you're eating garbage, yeah, eating less garbage for a time will result in some weight loss, but if you're still eating garbage, garbage is garbage. And sugar is sugar, and eventually you're still going to store fat just at a slower rate, and it's just going to come back. And then what are you going to do? So join us. The link is in the description below. I hope you will. I have a few preliminary questions. Just answer them in all honesty. And if I think you're a good fit, you'll be allowed in. We do a weekly Facebook Live video that answers yours and the other community members' questions. And I post something motivational like this video or like my written piece earlier in the day in the group. We take polls. I keep you guys engaged. We have contests. It's fun. So please join us. Again, if you have 50 more pounds to lose, you're looking to prevent or reverse a chronic condition, and if you're looking to avoid weight loss surgery. Okay, so have a good day, everyone. I'll talk to you soon.